Welcome to Megapath Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today let's talk about The Walking Dead pertaining to a character named Michonne and her being a goner coming up. I gotta stay away from the word dead. I don't think I'm gonna use that in the title or the description, or at least I'm gonna try not to, which is also gonna kick me in the sack when it comes to my death predictions. Those are easily some of the most popular videos I do on this channel pertaining to The Walking Dead, well, especially to The Walking Dead. With this YouTube ad boycott thing going on, the channel has been taking quite a heavy hit, and I assume it has been that because it happened, it was just a straight downfall, but all the other stats are, you know what, I'm in front of a camera. I will make a separate video about that. I need to already. I've been putting it off, but I'll shut up. This is about Michonne dying in the Walking Dead TV show, and this is not a spoiler. Before you flip your lid and start calling this out as a spoiler, relax. This is an open discussion about something that's happening in the comic book, and it's not necessarily a spoiler in the comic book either, but I will give a comic book spoiler warning. First off, if you're not reading the comic book, I don't know what to tell you. It's all over the internet every time the comic comes out. We discuss it heavily on this channel, but if you want to avoid the most recent 2 or 3 issues in the comic, we're going to be discussing that, just letting you know here. But for the TV only fans, it has to do with Andrea. So she's dead on the show. It's not really that big of a spoiler, but it gets into warning territory because of Michonne taking some of comic Andrea's storyline. So with those warnings and explanations out of the way, let's dive right into what is going on. So a few months back in the Walking Dead comic, Eugene got in trouble and he was surrounded by a bunch of walkers. Andrea came and rescued him, and when they got out of the herd, they were on horseback, and a character named Magna noticed that Andrea has a wound on her neck, and it was supposed to be a bite mark, and she goes, oh shit, and that was the cliffhanger. Well, everything after that was the aftermath of dealing with the herd, and then in the most recent issue, she finally revealed to Rick that she's been bitten, or at least they believe she's been bitten. Now, I say it like that because a lot of fans are skeptical, and this is important into the discussion, especially to the end of this video in particular. Comic book fans that want to discuss Andrea, there's a little nugget of discussion at the end of this video or towards the end, so stay tuned for that. But fans believe there's something else wrong with this. We didn't see Andrea get bitten, and normally that's something we see in The Walking Dead. They don't hide things like that. They don't shy away from showing things like that, especially in the comic. And when they do, it means there's something else going on. It means it might be misleading. But how can it be misleading? Well, we won't go into that too much because this video is about Michonne primarily, but it could be misleading because it could be a bullet wound, like a stray bullet. It could be a cut from one of the zombies had something sharp, which again, I think that's kind of silly because we'll never see it. If they say, oh man, it was a cut, how are we going to know? They didn't show Andrea realizing she got wounded. They didn't show Eugene witnessing it. So it's not like anyone's going to have a flashback. And even if they did, it'd be weird. You know what I mean? So, but there's a couple things that could explain this away. Recently, there was something posted on the Walking Dead website. But before I get too far into that, so what? So what? Why are we discussing this, linking it with Michonne? I'm going to try to explain things, but I'm going to talk like some of you are familiar with it. But Michonne is taking some of comic Andrea's story material, let's call it. She's becoming somewhat of a sniper, using the sniper rifle for certain things. Not a professional, not a pro like Andrea. That was our Sasha character pretty much, which is how comic Andrea's story moments have been divided up between Sasha being the pro and Michonne not only using the sniper rifle and seemingly getting better at it, but most importantly, becoming intimate with Rick Grimes. In the comic book, Michonne and Rick are best friends. They love each other. They are best friends in that aspect. They absolutely are loyal to each other. They protect each other. They're family. They're best friends, and she's close with Carl and everything like that. So you get that family unit without the intimacy, because Andrea has that in the comic. On the TV show, we see Michonne adopting that and becoming comic Andrea in the sense that she's taking up that intimate storyline. So if she's taking up that intimate storyline, will she also get this potential bite mark wound? And that is something that a lot of fans are discussing, and I'm getting flooded with messages for fans who want to discuss it. But when will this happen? And I think that's an interesting thing. If you're really worried it'll happen right now, season 8 is going to come at the end of 2017. All right, so 2017 is the beginning of season 8. 2018 first quarter is going to be the end of season 8. And then the fourth quarter of 2018, we're going to get the beginning of season 9. If this is a wound that happens for Michonne, we can kind of do a really rough estimate and think it's going to take place in the first quarter of 2019, because the new beginning will start at the end of 2018, and then this end of the Whisper stuff will end in the first quarter of 2019. And again, that is a rough estimate. This is what a lot of comic fans are thinking right now, is if Andrea is in fact bitten, if it's just that black and white, she's bitten and she dies and it pushes Rick's story into a different direction, will Michonne take up that storyline? We do know that character deaths on the show are not identical, not at all. Not a lot of characters had their identical death from the comic book to the screen. I know it seems like a lot with, like Olivia was completely different, but with Spencer, with Glenn, Abraham was completely different. Denise, that was completely different. There's a lot. In the very beginning in season 1, you had Amy, you had Jim. A lot of these were very, 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 some of them identical. Shane was close. It was definitely different, but it was close. It was Carl shot him, and then Rick shot him as a zombie. On the show, it was Rick stabbed him, and Carl shot him as a zombie. We don't always get character deaths on the show that are identical to the comic. Another example, Tyrese got his head by the governor, and in the show, it was Herschel. But with Michonne, one thing that could definitely deviate that story for her as a character is that she's only taking on some aspects of comic Andrea's storyline, not all of them. So we have a Michonne on the TV who is becoming an amalgamation of comic book Michonne. Obviously, that's the base character, that's the foundation of who this character is. And then you have Andrea. So, and we do know that these characters, they get little bits of other storylines. Like she might get a piece of, Carol's storyline. She might get a piece of Abraham's. She got Abraham's line when Rick punched Aaron. That was Abraham who made that funny comment. Michonne got Abraham's funny comment. So characters, it's not unusual for characters to borrow lines from other characters in the comic book. Now, when it comes to the show, we need to see how important or what happens with the Andrea character in order to make that connection, and in order to pull some serious speculation for what's going to happen with the Michonne character. Just because Andrea dies in the comic, in my opinion, a lot of people are asking my opinion, and here it is right here. I think it is something to be worried about, especially if you're a Michonne fan. But I don't think that if Andrea does in fact die in this situation, I don't think it means Michonne definitely will. Now, one thing that could make you a little bit more worrisome is the fact that this is something big. This is something big for the story. So essentially, it might mean that she might in fact die. But then we have the Michonne's character, and who will pick up that storyline. We know Carol is most likely the one to take comic Michonne's storyline from the new beginning. She is the best person right now, in the best position. She has the background, and we're not talking the search for her kids. I can put that out there. It doesn't matter. Comic Michonne had this search for her kids storyline that adds nothing to the show. It didn't even add anything to the comic. It basically took the character out of the story so they can put her in a video game. That's all it did. But for the TV show, you can have Carol who's messed up. You know what I mean? She's going to need time to recover. Think about this, and this is perfect. You have Michonne, who is emotionally messed up, and she needed time to recover. So after the war, she left. But her thing was totally different. She went to, search the wasteland for her children that she doesn't even know if they're alive or dead or starving or out there, or if they died on day one. She doesn't know any of that. With Carol, she had this breakdown, and this might solve some of the problems I had with Carol's story, because I thought, man, she had this moment and it was building for so long. For her to just jump back into war, it kind of feels like that was, oh, you put that character on the sidelines until you were ready to write something good for her, and then you just brought her back. But if they are using Carol to adapt some of comic Michonne's storyline and being broken and needing time to heal after the war, perfect. You have Carol who comes into the war, puts her healing on hold in the cabin all by herself, and that's exactly what she did. She comes in, manhandles shit. She might think she's okay, but at the end of the war, when she's really got to face herself and look inside and see that there wasn't complete healing there, she's still not okay with her life and the decisions she made, she might then have to go off. And I think that might be something very interesting for that character. And we don't need her to become intimate with Ezekiel. She could become very, very, very close. And that solves a couple problems. One, we're in war. We don't need more romance. Two, romance is the weakest way to write two characters together. You can build this bond with very clever writing. You can build this bond between Carol and Ezekiel that's even stronger than in the comic between Michonne and Ezekiel. And then when she goes off, and this solves the other problem with Tobin, I want to get that out of the way. You guys know, I see a lot of funny comments about that. Tobin's just being like, oh, okay. So you solve that problem. But you have this character who builds this bond through this war with Ezekiel. Maybe she even gives him guidance, gives him support. If Shiva does in fact die during a battle, she can be there. She can help him, and they can help each other. And then after the battle, she goes away, and maybe they were building this intimate bond, but it didn't get physical. I think that is a wonderful way to write it, where it doesn't get physical, but when she returns, maybe it does get physical. And by that point in time, we can get rid of Tobin. Just kill him off, so that way it's not really awkward. Or maybe even after it's been so long, they were able to heal their bullshit as well, as far as they were a couple and then, it's been nothing. You need to do something with that. You can't just let that float around out there and not ever discuss it, because if they're in the same scene in the same room, it's going to seem a little awkward if they don't bring it up, But the last thing I want to mention, this is something that was written on the summary. I believe it's the tagline for the most recent issue. The most recent issue coming out this Wednesday is supposed to tell us whether or not Andrea will definitely die. Now, I personally think they're gonna drag this out for an issue or two past this one, but the tagline says, "A certain doom," that's the subtitle. Is it impossible that the inevitable can somehow be avoided? Rick and Andrea have a tough decision to make, so they are hinting. There's a line I missed there. It's like, is it possible? Could it be? The inevitable can somehow be avoided. This is something I predicted a while back. The radio group has been lingering on there. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. If you're a TV-only fan, it's not going to really ruin anything for you. But there's another group. It's mysterious. They could hold the key to maybe, and again, I hate saying it like this. Those of you who know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying when we talk about it's not a cure for the zombie virus. Let's be very clear here. It's not a cure for the zombie infection, being infected, the zombie virus. It's not a cure for that. It's a cure for a germ, a bacterial infection from a zombie bite, all right? I don't know. There's still so many different comments after we talk about that get it all mixed up from what we're saying. We could be totally wrong, by the way. We are just going by what we see specifically and what we're told by the creator, okay? I am not saying that's definitely how the virus works, but they could be doing something different here in this moment. They could say, hey, we have the right type of medicine to practicing this whole time or studying this whole time. A lot of people think that, or maybe I'm wrong, I don't know enough about medicine. A lot of people think that professionals instantly create medicines. I don't think that's how it works. I think they need a certain amount of time to come up with that medicine. And if they needed time, but the outbreak took over the world too fast, then yes, you will have the world crumble, and then people come up with the cure for the bite, the infection from the bite. And again, not the zombie virus, not the zombie infection. We're simply talking about germs getting into your wound from a zombie bite, because that's what kills kills you. Everyone is still infected with the zombie infection, the zombie virus. You're still going to be a zombie if you die, but this heals that bite mark. Okay, so they are hinting that maybe the radio group has something that can help, and that would be, again, a race against the clock to get there. They are also hinting that maybe it wasn't the zombie, maybe, I don't know, the for some reason, because it's been such amount of, have we seen anyone bit lately that turned into a zombie? Maybe the virus isn't there, the germs ain't there, I don't know, something's different. And I'm not saying that's what I believe, because even for me, I'd have to go, wait a minute, how's that possible? Did germs die after a while? What? You know, how long does that take exactly? But they're making it seem like there's something else going on. Now, that is either totally misleading, or it's setting us up for the fact that Andrea might just make it out of this, and that opens up a whole new story to tell in the world of The Walking Dead around the virus and everything that's going on there. Now, that's going to be it for this topic. That's a touchy subject because we got some TV material with some comic material, but we also branch off into something that Kirkman has openly stated he wants to avoid, which is a cure. So if he doesn't want to tackle the zombie cure, then he's going to have to, or maybe he's tackling the bite infection, which is totally different from being infected. That gets complicated because every time we talk about it online, there's like there's a good 70% that we get it already, Ronnie. We get it. But still, there's a good chunk, that 30 or 40% that says, you get an infection from a zombie bite. You can't cure that. You're still going to be a zombie. They just, I don't know. Maybe they, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know. Zombie bite doesn't turn you into a zombie. It just kills you. Everyone who dies turns into a zombie. Even if you cure the bite, you still have the zombie virus inside you, but there's still a ton. We see all the comments explode with people saying, wait a minute. So I don't know, maybe I suck at explaining it. That could also be the case, you know? So if I do suck at explaining it, let me know, and I will try to reword that shit, you know? So anyway, and also keep in mind, that is the leading theory, the leading speculation, and it is almost bulletproof at this time, unless the creator changes something, because everything we've seen so far holds up to that. So if you want to come up with some other theory, let us know for sure, but I'm just letting you know, I'm not making this shit up, out of my own ass. I'm not just, blah, blah, blah. This is everything the fandom has collected, all the evidence, all the interview stuff, all the panels, all the stuff from the creator. This is a real thing. That's really how it happens, unless we get more information, or unless he changes something, or maybe the virus mutates in some sort of way. That could be what they're hinting at here. But that is all we got so far, unless things change. Just to put it out there, it's not 100%. The creator can change it. The creator can mutate it, as long as he changes it so it doesn't contradict what we already know. But if you want to say that that is absolutely false, that may be the case. But just to let you know, that most of the fan base, that's what we all know and believe at this time, based on all the information we've gotten in the world of The Walking Dead. You can leave your own thoughts and opinions down in the comment box if you want to talk about your opinions on Michonne. We have until 2019, and that's if Andrea even dies in the comic, but we have until 2019, so start the conversations, start the discussion. Watch, she's completely fine on Wednesday, and then it's like, well, fuck, there goes that discussion. Thoughts and opinions in the comment box. I'm done talking. It's your turn.
Subscribe now.